Maya had always been the responsible one, ever since she was a kid. She was the person everyone came to for advice. Her friends called her when they needed someone to talk sense into them. Her family trusted her judgment completely. At 34 years old, she had built a life she was proud of. She worked as a marketing consultant, had her own apartment in the city, and maintained clear boundaries in every aspect of her life. She believed in doing the right thing. Always. That belief was tested the moment she walked into that conference room in Denver. It was supposed to be just another work seminar. 3 days of presentations, networking lunches, and boring PowerPoint slides about digital marketing strategies. Maya had attended dozens of these events before. She'd smile politely, exchange business cards, and forget most faces by the time she got home. But then she noticed him sitting 2 rows ahead. There was something about the way he listened so intently to the speaker, taking notes like every word mattered. During the coffee break, they ended up at the same table, reaching for the last chocolate croissant at the exact same moment. They both laughed, and he insisted she take it. "I'm Ryan, by the way," he said, his smile warm and genuine. "Maya," she replied, feeling oddly comfortable with this stranger. They started talking, and what was supposed to be a 15-minute break turned into an hour-long conversation. He was funny without trying too hard. He asked questions that showed he actually cared about the answers. There was an ease between them that felt rare and unexpected. Over the next 2 days of the seminar, they gravitated toward each other naturally, sitting together during sessions, grabbing lunch, extending coffee breaks just to keep talking. Maya learned that Ryan worked in tech consulting, loved hiking, and had a terrible addiction to true crime podcasts. They discovered they both grew up in small towns but moved to big cities for work. They shared the same taste in music and had visited some of the same places during their travels. On the last evening of the conference, a group of attendees gathered at the hotel bar. Maya and Ryan ended up in a corner booth, talking long after everyone else had left. The conversation had shifted from work stories to more personal territory. Ryan told her about his passion for photography, how he used to dream of traveling the world taking pictures, but ended up in corporate life instead. Then, almost casually, he mentioned his wife. The word hit Maya like cold water. She felt her stomach drop, though she tried not to show it. Of course he was married. Why had she assumed he wasn't? He didn't wear a ring. But plenty of men didn't. "Things haven't been good for a while," Ryan continued, staring into his glass. "We've been together since college. Got married young, you know? Thought that's what we were supposed to do. But somewhere along the way, we stopped being partners and just became two people living in the same house. Maya should have changed the subject. She should have made an excuse and gone to her room. Instead, she found herself listening as he opened up about feeling trapped, about therapy sessions that went nowhere, about conversations that always ended in silence. "I'm sorry," Maya finally said. "That sounds really difficult." "It is," Ryan admitted. "But tonight, talking to you, I remember what it feels like to actually connect with someone. I'd forgotten that was possible." There was a look in his eyes that made Maya's heart beat faster. She recognized the danger in this moment. She knew exactly where this path could lead. "I should probably get some sleep," she said, though she made no move to leave. "Early flight tomorrow." "Yeah, me too," Ryan said, but neither of them stood up. They sat there for another hour, the conversation flowing as easily as before. When they finally left the bar, Ryan walked her to the elevators. As the doors opened, he touched her arm gently. "Can I get your number?" he asked. "I'd really like to stay in touch." "As friends," he added quickly. Maya hesitated. Every rational part of her brain was screaming warnings. She'd seen this movie before. She knew how it ended. Her own parents had divorced when she was 12 because her father had an affair. She'd watched her mother's pain, witnessed the destruction that came from crossing these lines. She promised herself she would never be the person who came between someone's marriage. But standing there, looking at Ryan's hopeful expression, she heard herself say, "Sure, as friends." They exchanged numbers, and Maya rode the elevator up to her floor feeling confused and excited and guilty all at once. She barely slept that night, replaying their conversations, analyzing every moment, trying to understand what was happening. The next morning, as her plane took off, her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Already missing our conversations. Hope you got home safely. Ryan Maya stared at the message for a long time before responding. She knew she should keep it brief and formal. Instead, she wrote back something casual and friendly, complete with a smiley face. That was the first text of thousands that would follow. Over the next few weeks, they messaged constantly. Good morning texts turned into updates throughout the day. Ryan would send her photos of interesting things he saw. Maya would share funny stories from her workday. They discovered they both loved old movies and started recommending films to each other. The text evolved into phone calls. First, just short ones during lunch breaks. Then longer conversations in the evenings. Maya found herself looking forward to these calls more than anything else. In her day, she'd catch herself checking her phone constantly, hoping to see his name on the screen. Her best friend Lisa noticed the change immediately. You've been glued to that phone all week, Lisa said during their usual Friday dinner. New guy, just a friend I met at that conference. Maya said, trying to sound casual. UHA, Lisa said, clearly not buying it. You're smiling at your screen like it's Christmas morning. This is more than friendship. Maya wanted to defend herself, but Lisa knew her too well. Instead, she found herself telling Lisa everything about meeting Ryan, about how easy it was to talk to him, about the connection she felt. Maya, sweetie, Lisa said gently, you know this isn't going to end well, right? He's married. I know, Maya said quickly. That's why it's just friendship. We're not doing anything wrong. Just talking. Lisa gave her a look that said she'd heard that story before. Just be careful. You have a good heart, and I don't want to see you get hurt. Maya assured her she knew what she was doing. She had everything under control. They were just friends, nothing more. She truly believed that, at least at first. But deep down, in that quiet place where people hide truths they're not ready to face, Maya knew she was lying to herself. Because the way her pulse quickened when she saw his name on her phone wasn't friendship. The way she found herself thinking about him at random moments throughout the day wasn't friendship. The way she'd started dressing a little nicer on days when they planned to video chat wasn't friendship. It was something else entirely. Something that scared her and thrilled her in equal measure. Something she knew she should walk away from, but couldn't quite bring herself to leave behind. And so the texting continued, the calls grew longer. And Maya felt herself being pulled into something she'd sworn she'd never be part of. All while telling herself, and him, and anyone who asked, that it was perfectly innocent. Just friends. Nothing more, even if her racing heart suggested otherwise. 3 months passed in a blur of messages and phone calls. Maya's phone had become her constant companion, always within reach. Always charged, always waiting for that next notification. She told herself repeatedly that nothing wrong was happening. They were just two people who enjoyed talking to each other. That's all. But the truth was getting harder to ignore. Ryan texted her first thing every morning. Not his wife, not his family. Maya. She'd wake up to messages like hope you have an amazing day or dreaming about our next conversation. Ian. At first, these messages felt sweet and harmless. Gradually, they became something she needed, like her morning coffee or the sunrise. They talked about everything. Ryan shared his frustrations about work, his dreams he put aside, his feelings about life slipping by too fast. Maya opened up about her own struggles, her fears about ending up alone, her questions about what she really wanted from life. These weren't surface-level chit-chats. They were diving into deep waters, sharing parts of themselves they rarely showed anyone else. The video call started in the second month. They'd chat for hours, sometimes until 2 or 3 in the morning. Maya would see Ryan sitting in his home office, the door closed for privacy. She never asked where his wife was during these late-night conversations. She didn't want to know. During one particular call, Ryan looked exhausted. His eyes had dark circles. and his usual smile seemed forced. Rough day, Maya asked, settling into her couch with a cup of tea. Rough year, more like. Ryan sighed. We had another fight today. Same argument we've been having for 5 years. I don't even remember what started it anymore. We just go in circles. Maya listened as he described the breakdown of his marriage. How they tried counseling, but nothing changed. How they talked about separation, but never followed through. How they stayed together out of habit and fear rather than love. Why don't you leave? Maya asked. Softly. I don't know, Ryan admitted. Fear, I guess. Fear of starting over. Fear of hurting her even though. Each other but not together, maintaining appearances. But Maya was intensely aware of his presence every moment. On the second evening, they finally met for dinner. Ryan had found a small Italian restaurant away from the conference hotel, somewhere quiet where they wouldn't run into colleagues. Maya spent an hour getting ready, changing clothes multiple times, her hands shaking as she applied makeup. When she walked into the restaurant and saw Ryan waiting at a corner table, everything else faded away. He stood up, his eyes lighting up in a way that made her feel beautiful and seen. They hugged, and Maya felt herself melt into the embrace, not wanting to let go. Dinner conversation flowed as easily as always, but there was an undercurrent of tension neither could ignore. Every accidental touch felt deliberate. Every laugh seemed more intimate. The restaurant lights were low, casting soft shadows, and Maya felt like they were the only two people in the world. I've been looking forward to this all week, Ryan admitted over dessert. These calls and texts are great, but being here with you, seeing your smile in person, hearing your laugh, it's different. I know what you mean, Maya said softly. I've been looking forward to it too. Maybe too much. What do you mean, too much? Maya set down her fork, suddenly needing to be honest. Ryan, we need to talk about what this is. What we're doing. Ryan reached across the table and took her hand. The contact sent electricity through her. I know what you're going to say. That this is wrong. That I'm married. That we should stop, shouldn't we? Maya asked, though she made no move to pull her hand away. Probably, Ryan admitted. But Maya, I need you to understand something. My marriage has been over for years. We're just two people sharing an address at this point. I know that sounds like an excuse, and maybe it is. But what I feel when I'm with you, I haven't felt this way in so long. You make me remember who I used to be before I got lost in obligations and expectations. Maya felt tears threatening. But you're still married. You're still going home to her, and I'm becoming someone I never wanted to be. I'm going to leave, Ryan said urgently. I've been planning it. I just needed to get some things in order first. Financial stuff, finding an apartment. I didn't want to say anything until I was sure. But Maya, I'm serious. I want to be with you, properly, without all this hiding. Maya wanted to believe him. Part of her desperately wanted to believe that this could somehow work out, that they could have a real chance together. But another part of her, the part that sounded like her mother's tears and her own childhood pain, warned her that this was a familiar story with a predictable ending. They left the restaurant and walked along the Chicago River. The city lights reflected on the water, and the spring air was cool but not cold. Ryan held her hand as they walked, and Maya didn't pull away. They talked about everything and nothing, both avoiding the conversation they knew they needed to have died at a quiet spot along the river. Ryan stopped walking and turned to face her. Maya, I need to tell you something, and I need you to really hear me. Maya's heart was pounding so hard she was sure he could hear it. Okay, I'm falling in love with you, Ryan said, his voice barely above a whisper. I know I shouldn't be. I know the timing is terrible and the situation is complicated. But I can't pretend anymore. These past 6 months, getting to know you, talking to you every day, you've become the most important person in my life. Maya felt like she couldn't breathe. These were the words she'd been wanting to hear and dreading in equal measure. Because once they were said, there was no going back to the comfortable fiction that this was just friendship. Ryan. She started, but he gently placed a finger on her lips. You don't have to say anything right now. I just needed you to know. I needed to be honest about what this is for me. But Maya did need to say something. because the truth was screaming inside her, demanding to be acknowledged. "I'm falling for you too," she whispered. "I have been for months. And it terrifies me because I know how wrong this is." Ryan pulled her closer, and Maya let him. She knew she should step back, create distance, protect herself. But her body had different ideas. When Ryan leaned down and kissed her, Maya kissed him back. All the months of restraint, all the careful boundaries, all the "we're just friends" lies crumbled in that moment. The kiss was gentle at first, tentative, as if they were both still giving themselves one last chance to stop. But then it deepened, became more urgent, and Maya felt herself responding with an intensity that surprised her. When they finally broke apart, both were breathing hard. Maya rested her forehead against Ryan's chest, feeling his heart racing as fast as her own. "Come back to my hotel," Ryan said softly. "We can just talk. I'm not ready to say goodnight yet." Maya knew what going back to his hotel room meant. She knew that just talking was a lie they were both telling themselves. She knew that if she went with him, she would cross a line she'd sworn never to cross. "This is wrong," she whispered, even as her hands clutched his jacket. "I know," Ryan replied, but his arms tightened around her. "I don't want to be this person," Maya continued. But she was already leaning into him, already imagining saying yes. "We don't have to do anything you're not comfortable with," Ryan said. "I just want to be with you, however that looks." Maya pulled back and looked up at his face. In his eyes, she saw the same conflict she felt, the same desire mixed with guilt, the same need for connection fighting against knowledge of consequences. And she made a choice that she knew would change everything. "Okay," she said quietly. "Let's go." They walked back to Ryan's hotel in silence, hands clasped together. With each step, Maya's mind screamed at her to turn around, to run, to protect herself from the inevitable pain. But her heart pulled her forward. The morning light filtering through the hotel curtains felt accusatory. Maya woke up before Ryan, her mind immediately flooded with the reality of what had happened. She lay there, staring at the ceiling, feeling like a stranger in her own skin. This wasn't supposed to happen. She'd had a plan for her life, a clear sense of who she was and what she stood for. And now, in one night, she'd become someone she didn't recognize. She'd become the other woman, the person she'd promised herself she'd never be. Ryan stirred beside her, and Maya felt panic rising in her chest. She needed to leave. She needed space to think, to process, to figure out what she'd done. "Hey," Ryan said sleepily, reaching for her hand. "You okay?" Maya pulled away, sitting up and looking for her clothes. "I need to go. I need to get back to my room." "Maya, wait. Let's talk about this." "There's nothing to talk about," Maya said, her voice shaking. She was getting dressed quickly, not meeting his eyes. This was a mistake. A huge mistake. "Don't say that," Ryan said, getting out of bed. "What happened last night should never have happened," Maya interrupted, finally looking at him. "You're married, Ryan. Married. And I can't believe I did this. I can't believe we did this." Ryan tried to approach her, but she held up a hand. "Please. I just need to go." She left before he could say anything else, practically running down the hotel hallway to her own room. Once inside, she locked the door and slid down to the floor, tears streaming down her face. What had she done? She crossed every line she'd drawn. She betrayed her own values, her own sense of self. And for what? For a man who was still going home to his wife at the end of the day. Her phone buzzed repeatedly with messages from Ryan, but she couldn't bring herself to look at them. She took a long shower, trying to wash away the guilt, but it clung to her like a second skin. Maya skipped the rest of the conference. She changed her flight and left Chicago that afternoon, needing to put physical distance between herself and what had happened. On the plane home, she composed a message to Ryan in her head over and over, trying to find words that would end this cleanly. But when she finally tried to type it out, her hands froze over the keyboard, because ending it meant never talking to him again, never hearing his voice, never seeing his smile. And despite everything, despite the crushing guilt, the thought of losing him completely felt unbearable. So she sent a shorter message instead. "I need some time. Please don't call me. Ryan's response came immediately. I understand. But Maya, please know that what happened wasn't a mistake for me. I meant everything I said. Take all the time you need, but please don't disappear. Maya turned off her phone for a week. She avoided everyone. She called in sick to work. She ignored Lisa's calls. She stayed in her apartment, ordering food delivery and trying to make sense of her life. She'd lie awake at night, replaying everything, trying to pinpoint the exact moment she'd lost herself. The worst part was that she couldn't even claim she'd been swept away in the moment. She made conscious choices at every step. She'd known what she was doing. She'd done it anyway. Lisa finally showed up at her door with coffee and determination. Okay, you've had a week to hide. Now you're going to talk to me, Lisa said, pushing past Maya into the apartment. Maya burst into tears. Everything came pouring out. The whole night in Chicago, the guilt, the confusion, the fact that even now, even feeling this terrible, she missed Ryan desperately. I've become the person I always hated, Maya sobbed. I'm the reason someone's marriage is falling apart. I'm the secret he's keeping. I'm everything I swore I'd never be. Lisa held her while she cried. You made a mistake. A big one. Yes, but you're human. The question now is what you're going to do about it. I don't know, Maya admitted. I know I should end it completely. Block his number. Never speak to him again. But Lisa, I can't stop thinking about him. Even now, even feeling this guilty. Part of me is hoping he'll show up at my door and tell me he left her. And if he does? Lisa asked gently. What then? Your relationship would be built on betrayal. Could you ever really trust him? Would you ever stop feeling guilty? Maya had no answer. Ryan gave her space for 3 days. Then the calls started again. Text messages, emails. He wasn't angry or demanding. He was patient and understanding, which somehow made it harder. I know you need time. One message read, I know you're struggling with this. I am too, but I don't regret what happened. I can't regret something that felt so right. Another message came the next day. I talked to a lawyer yesterday. I'm serious about leaving. This isn't just about you, though meeting you showed me what's been missing from my life. My marriage has been over for years. It's time to make it official. Maya wanted to believe him, but she'd heard stories like this before. Married men who promised to leave but never did, who stayed stuck in unhappy marriages, keeping their mistresses waiting indefinitely. She finally responded after 2 weeks, Ryan, I don't know if I can do this. The guilt is eating me alive. Every time I close my eyes, I see your wife, and I imagine how she'd feel if she knew. I can't be that person. His response came within minutes. Then let me fix this. Let me make it right. I'm leaving her, Maya, with or without you. I'm leaving because staying is killing me slowly. But I'd rather do it with you in my life than without you. I need proof. Maya typed back. I need to know you're serious. I need to see actions, not just words. Give me a month, Ryan replied. 1 month, and I'll show you I'm serious, Maya agreed. Though she wasn't sure what she was agreeing to. Hope, more heartbreak. A relationship built on ruins? The next few weeks were torture. Ryan kept her updated on his plans. He found an apartment. He'd separated their finances. He'd hired a lawyer. Each update felt like a promise, but Maya couldn't shake her doubt. Her work performance continued to suffer. She'd sit in meetings, physically present but mentally elsewhere. Her boss pulled her aside one day, concerned about her recent distraction. Is everything okay? He asked. You haven't seemed like yourself lately. Maya wanted to laugh. Of course she wasn't herself. She didn't know who she was anymore. Just going through some personal stuff, she said vaguely. I'll get it together. But getting it together felt impossible. She existed in a constant state of anxiety, waiting for Ryan's messages, terrified they'd stop, equally terrified they wouldn't. She felt trapped between what her mind knew was right and what her heart desperately wanted. Friends started noticing her withdrawal. Invitations were declined. Phone calls went unanswered. Maya was too ashamed to face people, too afraid someone would look at her and see what she'd become. One evening, her mother called. They hadn't spoken much since before Chicago. Her mother had always been perceptive. "Maya, sweetie, what's wrong? And don't tell me nothing. I'm your mother. I can hear it in your voice." Maya almost broke down and told her everything. But how could she tell her mother, who'd been betrayed by her father, that she'd become the other woman? How could she cause that kind of disappointment? "Just stressed with work," Maya lied. "I'll be fine." After she hung up, Maya looked at herself in the mirror. Her eyes had dark circles. She'd lost weight from stress. She looked tired and sad, and she hated what she saw. That night, she finally let herself think about the what-ifs. What if Ryan really did leave his wife? What if they tried to build something real together? Could a relationship that started in betrayal ever become something healthy? Would she spend the rest of her life wondering if he'd do the same thing to her someday? And what about his wife? Maya had never met her, didn't even know her name. But she existed. She was a real person whose life was being destroyed, and Maya was part of that destruction. The guilt was suffocating. But somehow, even under all that weight, hope persisted. Hope that maybe, just maybe, this could somehow work out. That the connection she felt with Ryan was worth the pain. That love, even messy and complicated love, was better than the safe loneliness she'd known before. 3 weeks after Chicago, Ryan called with news. "I told her," he said, his voice shaky. "I told my wife I want a divorce." Maya felt her heart stop. What did she say? She cried a lot. And then she said she'd known for a while that we were over. She was just afraid to face it. Ryan took a deep breath. "I didn't tell her about you. I didn't think that would help anyone. But Maya, I did it. I'm really doing this." Maya should have felt relief or happiness. Instead, she felt a wave of sadness for a woman she'd never met, whose life was falling apart partly because of her. "How do you feel?" she asked quietly, scared, sad, but also free for the first time in years. "I feel like I can breathe." He paused. "Will you see me?" "I need to see you." Maya closed her eyes. This was another choice, another step down a path she wasn't sure she should be walking. But she was already too far gone to turn back. "Okay," she whispered. "Come see me." Ryan showed up at Maya's apartment on a Saturday afternoon, looking exhausted but somehow lighter than she'd ever seen him. He moved into his new place the week before. The divorce papers were filed. It was real now, undeniable, and Maya didn't know how to feel about any of it. They sat on her couch, a careful distance between them, both uncertain how to navigate this new version of their relationship. "Thank you for seeing me," Ryan said. "I wasn't sure you would." "I wasn't sure either," Maya admitted. She looked at him, really looked at him, trying to see past the emotions clouding her judgment. "Ryan, I need you to be honest with me. Really honest. Do you regret it? Any of it?" Ryan was quiet for a moment, considering. "I regret hurting my wife. I regret that our marriage failed. I regret waiting so long to face the truth. But do I regret meeting you? Falling for you? No, I can't regret that, even though we started everything the wrong way. Maya, my marriage was ending long before I met you. You didn't cause that. You just helped me see what I was missing, what life could feel like." Maya wanted to believe him, but doubt gnawed at her. "How do I know you won't do the same thing to me someday? If you could keep secrets from her, develop feelings for someone else while married, what's to stop that from happening again?" It was the question she'd been afraid to ask, but it needed to be said. Ryan leaned forward, his eyes intense. "Because I've learned what happens when you stay in something that's already dead. I watched myself become someone I didn't like, someone who avoided going home, someone who found excuses to work late or travel more. I let things deteriorate for years because I was too scared to make a change." He reached for her hand, and this time she let him take it. "If we do this, if you give us a real chance, I promise you I'll never let things get to that point. If something's wrong, we'll talk about it. If we're unhappy, we'll face it together." I learned that lesson the hardest way possible. Maya felt tears sliding down her cheeks. "I want to believe that. I want to believe we can make this work. But Ryan, the guilt is killing me. Every day, I think about your wife, about the pain she must be feeling. And I know I'm part of that pain. She's going to be okay," Ryan said softly. She's already talking to her own lawyer. She's going to stay in the house. She has her family supporting her. And honestly, I think she's relieved too. Neither of us was happy. We were just a comfort table in our misery to change it. They talked for hours that afternoon. Really talked, without the romance or the fantasy clouding things. They discussed the reality of starting a relationship this way, the judgment they might face from friends and family, the complicated feelings that would probably never fully go away. I need time, Maya finally said. Even though you're separated, even though you're getting divorced, I need some space to figure out who I am outside of this situation. I lost myself these past months. I became someone I don't recognize, and I need to find my way back. Ryan looked disappointed but nodded. How much time? I don't know. A few months maybe? I need to focus on my work, reconnect with my friends, talk to my therapist. I need to deal with this guilt and figure out if I can actually move forward. And us? Ryan asked quietly. Is there still in us? Maya looked at this man who turned her life upside down, who made her feel alive, but also made her question everything she believed about herself, who'd been honest about his feelings, but dishonest to his wife. I don't know. She answered truthfully. I want there to be. But I need to get healthy first. We both do. We need to deal with our stuff separately before we can figure out if we work together. They agreed to minimal contact. No daily calls or texts. No dates or meetings. Just space to heal and grow. The months that followed were some of the hardest of Maya's life. She threw herself into therapy, unpacking not just her relationship with Ryan, but her deeper patterns. Her fear of being alone, her tendency to lose herself in relationships, her unresolved feelings about her parents' divorce. Her therapist didn't judge her, which somehow made facing the truth harder. You made choices that don't align with your values, her therapist said during one session, and that's causing cognitive dissonance. The question is, can you forgive yourself? Can you learn from this and grow? Maya wasn't sure she could. The guilt followed her everywhere. She'd see happy couples and wonder if she'd destroyed someone's chance at happiness. She'd hear love songs and feel sick. She avoided romantic movies entirely. Lisa was her lifeline during those months. She didn't judge or lecture. She just listened. You're being too hard on yourself, Lisa said one evening over wine. Yes, you made mistakes, but you're not a villain. You're just human. Complicated, messy, imperfect human. I hurt someone, Maya said. Someone who didn't deserve it. You didn't hurt her alone. Ryan made his choices too. And honestly, from what you've told me, that marriage was already over. You didn't destroy something healthy. You were just part of the final chapter of something that was already ending. Maya tried to believe that. Some days she could. Other days, the guilt was overwhelming. 3 months into their separation, Maya ran into one of Ryan's former colleagues at a coffee shop. They chatted briefly, and the colleague mentioned that Ryan seemed happier than he had in years. Whatever happened with his marriage, it seems like the right call, the colleague said. He's like a different person. More engaged at work, actually smiling. Sometimes things just need to end so people can start living again. That conversation stuck with Maya. Maybe this wasn't a simple story of right and wrong. Maybe it was more complicated than that. Maybe sometimes people made messy choices that still led to growth and change. She started feeling better gradually. The heavy weight of guilt began to lift, replaced by something more manageable. Regret mixed with understanding. Sadness mixed with hope. She started going out with friends again, accepting invitations, engaging with life. Her sister got engaged 5 months after Chicago. At the engagement party, Maya watched her sister and future brother-in-law dance. Their joy so pure and uncomplicated. She felt a pang of envy, but also something else, clarity. She realized that she wanted that kind of love. The open kind. The honest kind. The kind that didn't start with secrets and lies. And she wasn't sure she could ever have that with Ryan, no matter how strong their connection was. That night, she finally texted him. They'd had minimal contact during their time apart. Just occasional check-ins to say they were thinking of each other. But this felt different, important. Can we meet? She wrote, I think we need to talk. Ryan's response came quickly. Yes. When and where? They met at the same cafe where they'd had their first lunch together. Full circle. Maya arrived early, her heart pounding, knowing what she needed to say but dreading it. Ryan walked in looking nervous and hopeful. He'd changed over these months. He looked healthier, more settled. The stress lines around his eyes had softened. You look good, he said, sitting across from her. So do you? Maya replied honestly. They ordered coffee neither of them really wanted, both dancing around the conversation that needed to happen. Finally, Maya took a deep breath. Ryan, these past months apart have been good for me. Really good. I've done a lot of work on myself. Figured some things out. That's great, Ryan said, though his smile didn't quite reach his eyes. He could sense what was coming. And one of the things I've figured out is that I need to be with someone who's completely available. Not just legally available, but emotionally. Someone without all the baggage and complications. Maya, please, let me finish. She blinked back tears. What we had was real. The feelings were real. The connection was real. But it started in a way that I can't get past. Every time I think about us, I think about how we began. And I don't think I can build something healthy on that foundation. Ryan reached across the table for her hand. We could try. Start fresh. Do things right this time. Maya let him hold her hand, memorizing the feeling one last time. I don't think starting fresh is possible for us. Too much has happened. And honestly, you need time too. To heal from your marriage. To figure out who you are as a single person. We both jumped into this intensity without ever being on solid ground. So this is it. Ryan's voice cracked slightly. After everything, we both need to move forward separately. Maya squeezed his hand. You helped me remember what it felt like to be truly seen by someone. To feel that kind of connection. And I'll always be grateful for that. But I also learned that I need to respect myself more. To hold myself to my own standards, even when it's hard. They sat in silence for a moment, both crying quietly. Other cafe patrons politely ignored them, this couple having a painful goodbye in public. I want you to know something, Ryan finally said. You changed my life. You gave me the courage to leave a situation that was slowly killing me. And even though this isn't the ending I wanted, I don't regret knowing you. I don't regret any of it, neither do I, Maya said, and she realized it was true. She regretted the pain caused, the ways she'd compromised herself. But she didn't regret the growth that came from it. I hope you find what you're looking for. I really do. You deserve to be happy. So do you? Ryan said. They left the cafe separately. Maya walked back to her apartment, crying the whole way but also feeling lighter than she had in months. She made the right choice. The hard choice. The choice that honored who she wanted to be. 6 months later. Maya was sitting at her favorite park when her phone buzzed with a notification. Ryan had gotten engaged. The news came through a mutual connection social media post. He looked happy in the photos, genuinely happy, with a woman who had kind eyes and an open smile. Maya stared at the photos for a long time, waiting for the pain or jealousy to hit. Instead, she felt something unexpected, relief, and genuine happiness for him. He'd found his fresh start, and she was still working on hers. That evening, Lisa came over with takeout. You okay? Lisa asked, knowing Maya had seen the news. Yeah, Maya said, surprising herself. I actually am. He looks happy. Really happy. And I'm glad. You've come a long way, Lisa observed. The Maya from a year ago would have been devastated. The Maya from a year ago was lost. Maya replied, I think I'm finding my way back. She was dating casually now, nothing serious, but enjoying getting to know people in a healthier way. She'd reconnected with old friends. Her work was better than ever. She'd started volunteering, giving back in ways that helped ease the residual guilt. She still thought about Ryan sometimes, about their late-night conversations and the way he made her feel seen. But those memories no longer came with crushing guilt or desperate longing. They were just memories of a complicated time that had taught her important lessons. Maya learned that people were messy, that love didn't always arrive in neat packages with perfect timing, that good people sometimes made questionable choices, That forgiveness, especially self-forgiveness, was a daily practice. She learned that saying this is wrong meant nothing if your actions said otherwise. That true strength wasn't in denying what you felt, but in making hard choices despite those feelings. Most importantly, she learned that she could lose herself and find her way back. That mistakes didn't define her. That growth came from facing uncomfortable truths rather than running from them. A year and a half after Chicago, Maya met someone new. Someone single, available, uncomplicated. Their first kiss didn't have the desperate intensity of that night by the Chicago River. But it had something better. It had ease and openness and the promise of building something on solid ground. "You seem different lately," her mother commented during a phone call. "Lighter somehow. I feel lighter," Maya admitted. "I went through something.